Here are the training objectives on this task. Competitor will prepare weld joints with 10mm test plate and make tack welds with GMAW process. Task: to weld a 10mm test plate with GMAW. Objective: to be able to weld root, fill, and cap passes using given materials. Goals: to strengthen weld joint preparation and welding skills. To make sound welds without any defects such as undercut, porosity, and slag inclusion. Materials: 2 10mm thick plate, 250mm by 100mm with a 30-degree bevel angle. GMAW welding process for root, fill, and cap pass. Welding rod is KC28 1.2mm. Shielding gas is mixed gas, argon 80% and carbon dioxide 20%. Main focus of the task is: file the root face up to 1 to 2 mm line precisely after grinding the root face. Use a magnetic base to maintain the alignment by holding the base materials horizontally. Keep a 3.2 mm root cap at the start point and a 4 mm root cap at the end respectively. Fit a 4 mm round bar at the end of the plate to keep the gap. Then, make 2 tacks without any damage on the root face. Dry welding rod properly and keep short arc length to prevent porosity. Use the KC28 1.2mm as a welding rod. 10 to 25 mm of the wire stick out, and shielding gas flow rate shall be maintained 10 to 15 liters per minute. To prevent slag inclusions, clean well at each welding pass and grind all start-stop points. Undercut may occur when the current is too high or arc length is too long. Root pass current is 100 to 140 ampere and 16 to 22 voltage. Fill pass and cap pass current is 140 to 160 ampere and 18 to 24 voltage. To prevent overlap, maintain adequate weaving width and pitch, and uniform travel speed. The weave width should be controlled by checking the welding puddle formation and travel in uniform speed, maintaining 3 to 4 mm arc length. Please check the preparations and tools for this training. Here are precautions. If there is no root face, joint root will melt easily and cause burn through at the joint root of the plate. Make the root face of 1.2 to 2.5 mm. Uniform root face should be maintained over the whole weld joint so that the weld parameters remain constant. When reading gradations on the gas flow meter, make sure the gradations and the center of the indicator are in line with each other. Before going into welding, it is necessary to fully test the electric strength of the welding torch using an unusable base material. Length of tack welds at the starting point shall not be over 15 mm. Check the condition of U-profile and make a pre-strain of plates to the opposite direction from the welding surface about 2 to 4 degrees to prevent distortion after welding. If weld joint is not shielded properly with argon gas, it can cause porosity or inclusions. Make sure the argon gas shields the weld joint properly. While root pass welding, avoid any damage on the root face by grinding. For a stop-start welding, start the arc from approximately 5 to 10 millimeters ahead of the location to make smooth transition of welding beads and reduce the chance of defects. Welding current for GMAW welding changes depending on the wire's stick-out length. If the wire's stick-out gets longer, the current goes down, and if the wire's stick-out gets shorter, the current goes high. Please check the performing tasks. Preparation of base material weld joints. Because it is a V-type butt welding, process one side of the base material so that the angle of improvement is 30 degrees. Maintain root face about 1.2 to 2.5 millimeters after the edge preparation. Draw a marking line 1.2 to 2.5 millimeters from the edge of joint root with a vernier calipers. Use a grinder and a file to dress the metal precisely up to the drawn line. If there is no root face, the joint root will melt easily, causing burn-through on the base metal. So, make the root face of 1.2 to 2.5 millimeters and so that is not too sharp. Make sure that the root surfaces of the two processed base metals are faced to each other and that they are uniform without any gaps. Once checking has done, remove the burr from each edge with a file. A grinder may be used to remove shop primer coating on the weld joint. The root face of two plates should be the same so that the entire joint can be welded with the same condition. If light leaks through the gaps in the base material, it means that the root surface is not constant, so process it again. Tack welding for base material. Turn on the gas switch and adjust the gas flow rate. Gas flow rate is 10 to 15 liters per minute. When reading gradations on the gas flow meter, make sure the gradations and the center of the indicator are in line with each other. Adjust the root gap and the alignment of the plates. Use a magnetic base to hold the base materials horizontally. Check misalignment of plates with a steel ruler. After checking the step, make a gap between the base material. Give a 3.2 millimeter root gap at the starting point of the base material. Placing the 3.2 millimeter welding rod in between would make it easy to align the gap size. Check the welding parameters on the spare plates. Check wire feeding speed and adjust welding current. It's recommended to do a test weave up and down to check welding current is suitable for welder's travel speed. Welding current at 140 to 180 ampere, voltage 19 to 21 volts. Prior to tack welding, make sure to test the welding current. Prepare the torch at the point where to tack weld and posture appropriately. When welder is ready, tack welding the start point. Length of tack weld shall not be over 15 millimeters. Allow a bigger gap at the end point than the start point, considering shrinkage after welding. If the gap is too tight, make it wider with a chipping hammer and check the alignment. If there is any misalignment, twist the plate up and down to align properly. Fit a 4 mm round bar to align the root gap. Make 2 small tacks to fix the round bar to the base material without any damage on the root face. If there is too much penetration, it becomes hard to remove tacks of the round bar prior to welding. So, make small tacks to the point where both plates are fixed. When tack welding is completed, check the quality of tack welds. Check the root gap at the start and the end of the base materials and the alignment of the base metal. If there are incorrect parts, dismantle and do rework. Main welding preparation and pre-strain. Prior to main welding, make a U-profile on a tack weld at starting point by grinding with a grinder fitted with 2T disc. The reason for shaping with a grinder is for smooth transition between the weldment of tack welding and main welding. Check the condition of U-profile and make a pre-strain of plates to the opposite direction from the welding surface about 2 to 4 degrees to prevent distortion after welding. The amount of pre-strain shall be considered since the number of welding passes increased, more welding shrinkage will occur. Considering the number of welding passes, set the proper pre-strain. Root pass of base material welding. Fit the base material into the jig tight enough. Base material shall be kept at 90 degrees. The welder welds in a horizontal position. Move forward the torch from right side to left side with forehand technique. Weave up and down in a zigzag pattern and pause at the edge for a second. Torch work at 85 degrees. Travel angle 80 to 85 degrees. Root pass current and voltage. Current is 150 to 165 ampere. Voltage is 26 to 28 volt. Welding current for GMAW welding changes depending on the wire stick-out length. If the wire stick-out gets longer, the current reduced. And if the wire stick-out gets shorter, the current increased. Keep the minimized wire stick-out about 6 to 10 millimeters. Remove the tacked 4 mm round bar at the end point. Remove tacks by grinding without any damage on the root face. Take off the 4 mm round bar with a hammer and a chisel. Process the joint into a U shape with a sharp end using a 2T grinder. By making U-profile groove, the molten puddle can flow smoothly without overflow to the other area. For a stop-start welding, beads connection, start the arc from approximately 5 to 10 millimeters back from finished location to make smooth transition of welding beads and reduce the chance of defects. This is the endpoint processing of the root pass. When reaching the end of the weld, keep the arc length short and finish with 2 or 3 spot welds. When welding is finished, use a grinder to process joints and areas where the beads are not uniform. Remove slag and clean up contaminant with a cup brush after the grinding completed.
청소합니다.
Fill pass of base material welding.
필패스입니다.
Unlike the root pass, the fill pass moves from left to right and is welded in a backward method. Make weave pattern by moving backwards diagonally when the molten formed, and then move forward again by covering 2/3 of molten. Work angle and travel angle for torch are same as root pass. Torch work angle 85 degrees, travel angle 80 to 85 degrees. Deposit the bead up to about 2 millimeters below from the surface. When welding almost done, get ready for spot weld. Be aware that the arc is unstable when it's reaching to the end of the base material due to accumulated heat on the plate. When it reaches to the end, make 2 or 3 spot welds. Make sure welds have no porosity, undercut, slag inclusion. If any, remove defects with a grinder fitted with 7T disc. Cap pass of base material welding. For horizontal position, split the weld runs and make 2 passes for cap layer. In the first cap pass, 1/3 of the bead is stacked based on the line and surface of the groove with the line below the trim surface as the end. Keep the weaving width uniformly to make uniform bead width. Work angle and travel angle for torch are same as fill pass. Torch work angle 85 degrees. Travel angle 80 to 85 degrees. Keep the short arc length and make 2 to 3 spot welds for the crater welding. Dress upper part of bead with a grinder fitted with 7T grinding disc along with upper edge. Clean up contaminant with a cup brush. Second cap pass. For first cap pass, the groove edge of bottom plate is guideline for welding, but the groove edge of upper plate and grinding marks on first cap pass are the guidelines for second cap pass. Weave as if filling up the both guidelines fully. Second cap pass is the last pass of the horizontal welding. Weave same as the way for fill pass. Be noted, if weaving speed at the bottom point is too delayed, overlap may occur. Be noted if weaving speed is too fast or the weaving width is too wide, bead width could be too wide. Depending on the welding pattern, cap pass completed not only 2 passes, but also 3 passes. For the end part of plate, make 2 to 3 spot welds with the arc having short arc length. For the end part of plate, do not make more than 3 spot welds. Clean up contaminant with a cup brush when welding is done. The last step is visual inspection. Is pre-strain of base material properly returned? Is the weld joint free from undercut or underfill? Is the weld bead free from excessive face reinforcement? Is the width of beads are regular and uniform? Is it free from any arc strike? Please check the key points of the task you have done this time. So far, we have learned about the GMAW construction of a 10mm test plate. Thank you for your hard work.